What's up, deckheads? Welcome back to MTG with me. It's the Gainswalker. Got a Mythic Tier List for you for Foundation set that just came out. A little bit late to the game on that. Had a lot of fun at the pre-release event, and I'm just going to talk to you about some of the ones that I think are really good. There are some throwbacks. You'll see a Johnny there. A Johnny is actually a reprint. That is a solid one. That's actually the first Planeswalker that I ever played against. That was my buddy Patrick who got me into the game. That was his favorite Planeswalker at the time. I'm sure that's changed, but there's a lot of cards that are throwbacks that are standard legal. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'll just run through. I think there's about 20 in the set generally, and then there's a bunch that are standard legal. I know that because I'm using some of them that are from previous sets. So pretty cool stuff. We'll get into it, but first let me show you what the breakdown is. We got S, A, B, C, and then throwbacks, standard, legal. So first one out the gate, a Johnny. I'm gonna throw S tier. Just throw that up there for Patrick. But a Johnny is a solid card. So a Johnny here. Actually, let me do it this way. Johnny, 3-drop, great in mono white decks. It's got +1/+1 counter up to 1 target creature, -3. Target creature gains flying and double strike. Awesome. And then the ultimate -8, get X 2/2 cats where X is equal to your life total. It's just a crazy ability. It starts with 4 loyalty counters. You need 8 to do that. Couple ways you can do that really quick out the gate. There's this 2-drop green enchantment that says whenever permanent enters, it's going to enter with double the amount of counters on it. So any planeswalker you play, a lot of people use it with the Vraska combo, it'll enter with double. So you could play that turn 2. I think it's a 4 to do it. So by turn 3 you can pump it up to turn 4. And so you'd have to play a Johnny turn 5, but that's not bad. That is not a bad turn 5 move. To play a Johnny turn 5 and then get rid of him for the ultimate there, just to get a bunch of 2/2 cats. So that's a strategy. Obviously, fearing the board wipes, but definitely an S tier, solid card all the way around. There's already right here, we've got Kaito, so I'm just going to pull him up right here. This is also S tier. This might be the best Planeswalker in the set. And I know, a little biased on that, but the way the meta is going, it looks like there's a bunch of discard, there's a bunch of graveyard nonsense, so you really want to have graveyard removal, you want to be playing on your opponent's turn like Flash, and you want to be countering a lot of things. And so the reason I'm bringing up Kaito here is Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator. 3-drop, 3 loyalty. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a loyalty counter on Kaito. +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn, draw a card, then discard a card. That is a crazy +1 ability. You could have separated that into 2 separate +1 abilities and it would still be good. -2, create a 2/1 blue ninja creature token. So it's a planeswalker that can create a board state to help protect itself. That's something you always want to see. And then it's -9, which I don't think it's going to be that hard to get to, because you're going to get a loyalty counter on every time you deal combat damage. What if you've got double strike? What if you've got, and each creature that hits, you're going to boom. That's another counter. So that's going to happen very fast. You get an emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, create a 2/1 ninja creature token. That is wild, because you play a spell, your opponent plays a spell, throw it in a counter deck, so they play a spell, you counter it, that's 2/2/1s, and you get a better board state. That is wild. I think that's going to see a lot of play. I think I haven't heard too many people talking about it at the draft. There wasn't a lot of people excited about it. I pulled one in a box that I got, or fat pack that I got, that was pretty sweet. So I'm happy about that. Next we got, because we're right here, we gotta just move this puppy over. Alright, so we've got Liliana, Dreadhorde General. This is a 6-drop. Whenever a creature control dies, draw a card. Create a 2/2 black zombie creature token for 1. -4, each player sacks 2 creatures of their choice. That's what I see most people do. They'll play it for 6 and then -4. So it keeps it out, but it kind of evens the board state. -9, each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. That's nuts. I don't think it's S tier. I'll throw Liliana in A tier for that because that is wild. So you get one land, you get one artifact if you had it, one creature, like that is wild. So it'll draw attention immediately. People are gonna focus on it for sure. All right, we got Chandra, Flame Shaper, 7-drop. +2, add 3 mountain. Exile top 3 cards of your library. Choose one. You may play that card this turn. I like it because it gives you mana and it gives you things to do. So even if somebody got rid of your entire hand, which is in a mono red deck, that's going to be you. You're going to be burning out everything you can. If you're playing a lot of discard, that's common right now in standard. So that's a good way to help you, but it's a 7-drop. And so just like that last Liliana, it's going to be hard to get. It's going to be an immediate target, but we'll keep going here. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control except gains haste. Sack it at the end step. That's a +1. That's okay. Not great. It's okay though. -4. Chandra deals 8 damage divided as you choose among any number of creatures and or planeswalkers. Not hitting your opponent though, and I feel like if your planeswalker is a 7-drop, you should be able to do some direct damage to your opponent like that, especially a Chandra. So she's okay. I'll put her in A tier. All right, next, Vivian Reed. 5-drop, popular planeswalker, fairly new. +1, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or a land, put them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So you're going to fetch for a creature or a land for that +1. I like it. It's a 5-drop with 5 loyalty, solid. Destroy target artifact, enchantment, or creature with flying. I love it. It's exactly what green does. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2/+2, and have vigilance, trample, and indestructible. I'm a big fan of indestructible. I think that's awesome. So I'll throw Vivian up in S tier. Let's see. Where is Vivian? There she is. All right, so that is S tier. Or, I'm sorry, S tier. There we go. All right, moving along. Valkyrie's Call. This one, I think, came out in Kaldheim, if I remember correctly. And so anytime a creature dies, if it's not an angel, it comes back to the board with a +1/+1 counter. It has flying and is an angel in addition to its other types, which is great in Orzhov decks. So Orzhov, black and white, they're going to be playing small amount of creatures and they're going to be sacking them to do other things to get more value in other cards that they're using. So that's very popular in that. Not popular in an angel deck that you may think right away, because if it's an angel and it dies, that it doesn't get the benefit. So it is kind of cool that it has that aspect. I've seen it best played that way, but there are other things you can do, I'm sure. Great card. I'll say A tier. All right. Next, we've got Sphinx of Forgotten Lore. This is Flash. I love me some Flash. I do love me some Flash. Zoom in a little bit. All right. So this is a 4-drop 3/3 Flash. Flying whenever this creature attacks. Target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback. So it's like a Snapcaster Sphinx, I want to say. And flashback equal to its mana cost, just like Snapcaster. So it is neat. CMC is a little high. Comparatively, Snapcaster was a 2/1, I want to say. And so it's doing the same thing. Target instant or sorcery card graveyard gains flashback till end of turn, equal to its mana cost. It's doing the same thing, except this is a 3/3 flash flying for 4. So I love that mechanic. It was great. It's not a legendary, so you can play multiple and get plenty of value there. You can blink it, get the same value. There's scroll shift, so it's kind of like a cloud shift, but it's a 3-drop, and it doesn't have to be a creature. You can target, I believe, enchantment or artifact with scroll shift, and you also draw a card with scroll shift. So a little bit more CMC. Not getting much play in standard, but you could, especially with those enchantments from Duskmourn. I brought it up in the last tier list I did for Duskmourn, but you could absolutely use scroll shift on those enchantment horrors. Blink them, and they lose all those counters and enter again. So there's one, the white one gives you 2/2/1s on the board when you play it and when it attacks. So you play it pass turn, then maybe play like a 1-drop or something, because I think it was a 4-drop or maybe a 2-drop if you went to turn 5. And then on their turn, you blink it in. You get 2 more 2/1s, and you have that ready to attack. So when you swing, now you have 6 2/1s and that coming at them. turn 5 or turn 6. So it's wild, and it's a great way to protect it. And you drew an additional card, so like, and that's you could do that with any one of them. It's wild. So Sphinx, hopefully we'll see some play. I'm gonna say 3/3 for 4, but it does all that. It's a solid card. I just don't think people are gonna play it. So I mean, I'll put A tier. I'll be nice. This next one is disgusting. I hate playing it. this is this goes into the bat decks. There's an Orzhov bat deck that just is pretty annoying. It's got high resilience. It'll play stuff from the graveyard. It will play Rush of Dread, which is going to deal half your life to your opponent, or half their life to themselves. And then whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. There's a whole bunch of other like 2-drops and whatnot that say whenever you gain life, your opponent loses that much life. It might be a 3-drop, but you get the idea. You just lose at that point because it's just a cycle of if you can't break that, even if it's just 1 damage, it's I gain life, you lose life. Oh, because you lost life, I gain life, and so then it just keeps happening. And this is an S tier card. You immediately have to stop this. As soon as you see it, you need to get rid of that, because if you let that go a turn, you're basically just hoping they don't have it in their hand. That's a problem. So very strong card. I hate it. I hate it because it's so good. All right, Twin Flame Tyrant, 5-drop, 3/5. Flying, if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals double that damage instead. I love that. Very strong card. It says if a source would deal damage to opponent or permanent, so anyway, combat damage, direct damage, it opens the door for a lot of different combos. And the most important thing is it's going to mess with your opponent's head. They're not going to be calculating the same way, so they have to really be on that to prepare to fight that on the board. So I think it's great. I don't think it's amazing, so I'm going to throw it in the B tier. But it's definitely a solid card. There's no debating that. Most of these mythics are pretty wild. I think they wanted to change the standard format really bad, so I think they just threw in a whole bunch of really crazy things. Quilled Great Worm, 6-drop, 7/7, trample. It's already nuts. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage during your turn, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. So you better have your board wipes ready to stop this. And you may cast this card from your graveyard by removing 6 counters from among other creatures you control in addition to paying its other costs. The only other thing that I would like to see out of that card to make it like crazy mythic is if it didn't limit the removing 6 counters from among creatures, because there's Lost Chate out there, so if you had counters stacked up on that could help you play this. What about Planeswalkers you've got on the board? That's kind of a give and take to the person playing this card. Oh, I really want to play it, but I'll have to eat some of those counters off my Planeswalker. All of that I think is great, but overall I'll say B tier. It's a bit late. Mono green ramp is pretty solid, so you could get to it, but there's so many board wipes, there's so much removal, I just don't see people playing it. But, overall, pretty cool. Next, I know somebody's going to do something stupid with this. This is Herald of Eternal Dawn. It's a 7-drop, 6/6 with flash, which is quite important for a card like this. So it is a 7-drop, 6/6 flash flying. You can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game. Love the flavor text too. I am the light that breaks the darkness. Great job. Good job with the card. This is very close to Platinum Angel. If you've ever played Platinum Angel, it is a 7-drop, 4/4. So this is a 7-drop, 6/6. So it's the same mechanic. You can't lose the game, your opponents can't win the game. That's Platinum Angel, but it's a 7-drop, 4/4. This is a 7-drop, 6/6 flash, flying, and that ability. Main difference is this is a white card and Platinum Angel is an artifact. So the artifact, put it in any kind of deck. This is a little bit more deck specific, but I think it's better this way. I think this is way better than Platinum Angel because there's a lot of destroy artifact, things like that also hit Platinum Angel, and this is a 6/6, so it's getting out of that burn range from a lot of different decks. This is crazy good. It's going to be hard because the high CMC, but with that ability, that is an S tier for sure. All right, next we've got Omniscience. This is a reprint. This is solid reprint, and there's people playing this card on turn 3 or 4. I think the earliest I saw was turn 3, and I can't remember exactly how they did it, but it was wild to see that in standard, and then they just played their deck, and I was like, wow, that was annoying. So that's a thing. This is a great card if you know how to use it, but you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana cost. Need I say more? That is that is wild, but you have to build your deck around it, right? Good luck playing this in a draft. You're not gonna. I pulled it in the pre-release. I was like, nope, not gonna be able to play that. But it is a great card. I love the artwork. You got Jace there walking the plains. But I'll say A tier, because if you do know how to use this, you're gonna have a fun time. Next one, Rise of the Dark Realms, 9-drop. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Now I will say, there's plenty of ways to play spells from the graveyard, and there's a bunch of graveyard interactions with standard play right now. So even in Diamond, it's crazy. So I think that what you will see is people trying to use stuff like this because their graveyards are going to be huge, but graveyard removal is just going to get that much more important. So I think it's great. I don't think it's crazy good. I'll say C tier, but if you know how to use this, you could make it like an S tier, but I'll say C tier. Rite of the Dragon Caller. This is a 6-drop. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, create a 5/5 red dragon creature token with flying. That is wild. I think there is an Izzet deck that uses like the otters that might fare well with this, but I don't think that I don't think this is gonna get a lot of play. It's a little bit late, and you're just gonna remove it. So 6-drop. I'll say B tier, just because 5/5 every spell is nuts. Now if it had haste, that would be crazy, but it doesn't. It's just 5/5. Just a 5/5 every spell. Doubling Season is also reprint, very popular card. A lot of people like this one. If an effect would create one or more tokens under control, creates twice that many. If an effect would create one or more counters put on a permanent control, it puts twice that many on those counters on that permanent instead. So this is another way that you could do that Ajani thing that I talked about. It's the same kind of thing. I forget exactly what that enchantment I'm talking about is. I'll put a picture of it up. There you go. But the double the counters on your planeswalkers is huge, because there's almost all scenarios for planeswalkers that you'll be able to do their ultimate just because they enter with double. So that's huge. Doubling Season's great. It's a 5-drop. If you know how to use it, it's good. I'll say B tier, because not every deck is going to benefit from that, but it's pretty solid. Okay, next we're going to get into the multicolors. So many great mythics in this set. Like, big hype. Very good on MTG for putting in this amount of work. All right. Progenitus. This is a wild card. Okay, so Progenitus. It's double Wooburg. If you don't know what Wooburg is, it's one of each color. Right, so double Wooburg. You need to have 10 mana. That's so much mana. So it is a 10/10 for 10. Protection from everything. So what I don't like about that, so protection, what does protection mean? You want to think of debt, DEBT. Can't be dealt damage, can't be enchanted, can't be blocked, and can't be targeted, right? So that's also you. So you if you have pumps, if you have like give it double strike, you can't do that. Yeah, so it's just one of those things. If Progenitus would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal Progenitus and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So that's also kind of unique, because it's kind of like submill protection in a very extreme scenario. I have been able, you can put this in the graveyard. If somebody manifest dreads it and then you kill the manifest dread before they flip it up, then it would go to the graveyard and it would stay in the graveyard. So there are ways to get around it. It's just very rare. And so great card. I don't think so it's got pro everything 10/10, right? So what if I destroy all creatures? It's dead. You know what I mean? It doesn't have indestructible unless you give it to it, but you can't give it to it because it's got protection from you. So it's a very interesting card. I don't think it's that great. I'm gonna put it in C tier. But when you first see it, you're like, what? Protect from everything. So it's kind of cool, but it's got some hurdles. Muldrotha the Gravetide. Okay, what do we got? 6-drop, 6/6. During each of your turns, you may play a land and cast a permanent spell of each permanent type from your graveyard. Ooh, that could be really good. Let's see. Let me think about that. If a card has multiple permanent types, choose one as you play it. Oh, fantastic. Okay. There's probably some playability here. I'll have to think about that a little bit more. Initially, I'm gonna say A tier. It's just a steep cost, you know what I mean? So it's like another one of these other ones here, like great card, but the CMC is a bit high, making you hesitate. Niv-Mizzet Visionary is a 6-drop flying. You have no maximum hand size. Whenever a source you control deals non-combat damage to an opponent, you draw that many cards. So that's where it kind of gets whittled down. It's very specific, but of all the Niv-Mizzets, I think this one is up there. I don't know if I'll put it on the I have all of them, but it's just tough. I mean, as far as the CMC goes, I'm happy to finally see Niv-Mizzet not have double blue, double red, or even triple blue and triple red in the mana cost, because that is just so hard to work with. At least this, you can put it in a tricolor and you can get some value out of that. But so you got to deal non-combat damage to an opponent. That's so specific, just to get those extra cards. One of the other Niv-Mizzets has like a pumpable for Izzet, so 1 blue, 1 red. Deal 1 damage to anything, and whenever this deals damage, draw a card, that kind of stuff. So I don't know if it's the best Niv-Mizzet, but it's certainly good, and I feel like somebody's gonna do something with it. CMC is a little bit high for a 5/5. I'll say A tier. I don't think S, but it's definitely got a lot of value. All right, now the next one here, I think this is where it starts getting into rares. No, we got one more here. Zimone Paradox Sculptor. This is a 4-drop 1/4. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. Okay. And then for Simic, tap double the number of each kind of counter on up to 2 target creatures and or artifacts. Would have been great if it didn't limit that, if it just said on up to 2 target permanents. That would be wild. Blast Zone would be crazy. Any Planeswalker would be crazy. There's a lot of stuff you could do with that. So I think it's good for a 4-drop. Put a +1 on each of up to 2 target creatures, and that's each combat on your turn. It's got to be at least A tier. I don't think it's S, but it's definitely A tier. All right, so now those are it for the multicolor mythics. And then if I scroll down here, there is an artifact mythic. Mythic Spoiler is great. This website organizes it very neatly. I know there's plenty of other websites out there, but this one is very organized, and I love that about it. All right, Sire of 7 Deaths. This is a 7-drop, 7/7, first strike, vigilance, menace, trample, reach, lifelink. Hold on, ward, pay 7 life. That is so nuts. It just got all of the abilities. Not really, but a lot of them. And I just like, that's so crazy. It doesn't have flying, so that's a plus. You can get over it. But what a mountain of abilities that this thing has. This is it's kind of hard to rate it. I mean, 7, pay any mana. It's a 7/7, so vanilla solid, but then it's first strike and vigilance, so you can't swing past it unless you're swinging over it. It's got menace, so they're gonna be pushing with it every turn. It's got lifelink. Oh wait, it has reach. I'm sorry. Pardon me. You're not gonna fly over that. It's just all right. S tier. You can't get around that. That has to be S tier. Oh man. And to target it, you have to pay 7 life, which is that's ridiculous. Yeah, definitely S tier on that one. All right, so as far as what else is going on in the set, now we're going to look at the throwbacks that are standard legal. Uh, there's plenty of great things in the set. If you haven't looked at it, definitely take a look at it. Those are just the mythics. The rares are solid too. Some of them are better than what we just talked about. Swiftfoot Boots is in there. Equipped creature has hexproof and haste. That one's pretty solid. Leyline Axe. It starts in your opening hand, put it on the battlefield, trample, and double strike, right? Equip is 3. That's still pretty nuts, right? That's not necessarily an Emberclave, but you can put it in any deck, unlike Emberclave, which is mono red. You got Think Twice. That's a common one. Giant Growth, very common staple in Magic. Let's see. There's a couple other really great ones. Banishing Light. This is your O-Ring kind of thing. Also pretty common. Lots of great uncommons there. Let's see. There's Giada and a whole bunch of angels in here. Vampire Nighthawk, solid. We got there's a little bit of a cat thing going on. Some more draw cards. Lunar Insight's probably better in a commander. This is a 3-drop draw card for each different mana value among non-land permanents you control. That one's pretty solid. There's Giada again. She's back in rotation. Celestial Armor's sweet. Flash, ETB, Indestructible, Hexproof, gets +2/+0 and flying. What else? This has been annoying to play against. Authority of Consuls. I believe this is a reprint. I think it is. It's a 1-drop. Creatures enter tapped. Every time an opponent plays a creature, you gain a life. There's a lot, and I breezed over a lot of those. But let's get back to the mythics. There's just so many. It's crazy. So if you're looking at the website, this is pretty cool. After the color columns, I'll say, it has the multicolors, then the artifacts, then it goes into the lands. Different types of lands, then the land artworks itself, and then tokens, and then it goes into different sections of the cards that are available. So we've got Foundation Jumpstart. I'm not very familiar with Jumpstart, so I'm just going to breeze past that, but that is a lot. Then it's got artifacts for Jumpstart, land for Jumpstart, special guest. These are all mythics. There's 10 more mythics here, but I think these are specifically, let me scroll a little bit down so you can see. Okay. So these are specifically, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they're the cards you can get in drafts that you can use for drafts or sealed event, any kind of limited event, but I don't think they're standard legal. So I think you can use them in those events when you pull them in those events like that, even on MTGA, but I don't think you can use them in standard any other way. You got Condemn, Sphinx's Tutelage, Temporal Manipulation, Grim Tutor, Fiend Artisan, Emberclave, just talked about that, it's a great one. Goblin Bushwhacker, I still need to get that for my Legacy deck. Bloom Tender, Paradise Druid, and Achroma's Memorial. Crazy cards, check those out. I don't really need to get into them because it's not really standard kind of thing, so if you know them, great. If not, get familiar. They're pretty cool. Shows the alternate artworks for the cards that I just talked about. Very cool artwork. Oh, Exemplar of Light. Forgot to talk about this. Great angel card. If you're doing an angel deck, definitely use that. All right, now let's get to, forget what it calls them. I think all right, starter collection. So I don't know if they have starter decks that include these. If they do, that's wild. And definitely check those out. But these are, I think this is 9 or 10. Let's see. Oh, I got 12 here because there's some artifacts. Okay. So I got 12 here. This is Lyra Dawnbringer. So Lyra Dawnbringer. All right, sweet. So this is a 5-drop 5/5 flying first strike lifelink. Other angels get +1/+1 and have lifelink. That's crazy. S tier. I use it in a standard right now, and it is doing very well. Definitely putting that up there. Sphinx of the Final Word, 7-drop 5/5. This can't be countered. Flying, it's got hexproof and instant and sorcery spells, can't be countered. S tier. That's so wild. Again, these are reprints. I believe they're all reprints, but they're very good. Massacre Worm. This actually, I believe, is the first mythic that I ever had. So I did play this a lot when I first started, and it was very fun to play with. When it enters, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, that player loses 2 life. So pretty cool. board state manipulation there. It doesn't have trample or anything, but it's still fun. So I'll say A tier. Dragon Master Outcast. This is a fun one to play. It's a 1-drop, 1/1. But whenever at the beginning of your upkeep, whenever you have 6 or more lands, you get a 5/5 dragon with flying. It's just wild. I'll say A tier because although it is, I feel like I love it enough for it to be an S tier. It doesn't quite hit the mark um, because it's so easily removed. 1/1, like anything will kill it. But Vizier of the Menagerie. This is a 4-drop 3/4. Look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. You can spend mana of any type to cast creature spells. I like it. It could be used in like a 5-color. I believe that is from a Monket, I want to say. And, 4-drop for those kinds of abilities seems pretty standard. Like Oracle Moldiah, that's a 4-drop, play additional land, play off the top, play creature cards off the top, that kind of stuff. So I'll say A tier as well. And moving along. All right, Angelic Destiny. This is a fun one. This is a 4-drop. Enchant creature gets +4/+4, has flying, first strike, and is an angel in addition to its other types. Whenever that creature dies, return this to the owner's hand. I love that because even if somebody's hitting board wipes, you still got stuff to play. So Angelic Destiny is a S tier for sure. All right, Finale of Revelation. So this is 2 blue and X. Draw X cards. If X is 10 or more, instead shuffle your graveyard into your library, draw X cards, untap 5 lands, and you have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Then you exile this card. So it's got utility. You're going to need to find some way to reduce your mana cost. There's plenty of ways to do that. But the more you do that, the easier it is to hit that, and you're going to get a lot more value with it. This in a deck like that. But you have to play it like that. So to really get the value, I'll say. So I'll say B tier. I don't think it's amazing, but some people do, and everybody's entitled to their opinion. Demonic Pact, 4-drop. At the beginning of your upkeep, choose one that hasn't been chosen. This enchantment deals 4 damage to any target. You gain 4 life. Target opponent discards 2 cards. You draw 2 cards, or you lose the game. And so you're gonna need to find a way to I don't know if you exchange control of this to somebody else, if they're stuck with the remaining things on the list, or if the list resets. I don't know. I'd have to look into the rules a little bit more on that. I would assume once it's crossed off, it's crossed off. So you would want to use the benefits and then pass it off to somebody, and then they just get deleted. You know what I mean? So it's very specific. It's a high risk, high reward kind of thing. So I'll say B tier. Like if you know how to use it, sure. And then next, I believe we're going into the multicoloreds of that. Let me open that up. Okay, so from the starter collection, you keep scrolling down. You'll see the multicoloreds. There's so many good, like these are all standard legal. Like, uh, I would troll people when I was younger with the fog. You got a Johnny's Pride Mate here. That's solid. People love that card. What else do you got? Mentor the Meek, which is just solid. Rite of Replication. This is another card that my buddy who started me into Magic would play, and it would just be ridiculous to deal with. Feladar's Retreat, solid. There's so many. This set is jam packed with value. I think you'll get these in a box as well. I didn't get a box, so I don't know. I only got a fat pack, so I'm not sure. It's got the same mana symbol, so or same set symbol, I'll say. So I think so. All right. Original Lana. I think that's the original Lana War Elves artwork. Solid. And where's the? There they are. We got Aurelia the War Leader. Oh man, this card is fun to play. This is a reprint from, I believe it was Return to Ravnica that this came out. It might have been Gatewatch actually. All right, so Aurelia the War Leader, 6-drop, 3/4, flying, vigilance, haste. Whenever this attacks for the first time, untap it. You get an additional combat phase. So great in a Boros Angels deck. I built one of those. It's very fun to play with. 6 is a little high CMC, but if you can maintain the board state up till then and avoid board wipes, which there are many, so that's going to be hard to do outright. But great card. I'm throwing it in S tier because I'm biased and I love that card. Just a great card. So next we've got this one's great. You're gonna love this one. Darksteel Colossus. This is an 11 drop. 11/11. Trample Indestructible. If it would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, reveal it and shuffle it into its owner's library instead. So, just a powerhouse card. Artifact creature, Indestructible is great because if it's an artifact, it's susceptible to more removal, so you kind of go back and forth with that, but it's indestructible. So it gets rid of most removal. So it gives more than it takes in that. Next, so this one, I'll say A. It's just, I'll say B. I'll say B. Because it's an 11. It's just huge. In a fling deck, that'd be cool. Find some way to cheat it out. Cool. Uh, let's see. You can bounce it. That would be a problem, right? You play an 11/11, somebody's like unsummon, boom, like okay, that's a lot because it's not going to the graveyard, going back to their hand. That would be really annoying to play with. So it's not crazy good, but it's decent. Pyromancer's Goggles, though, that is absolutely amazing. I love the artwork on this one, much better than I think it was just goggles on the ground or something for the first artwork that it had. But this is great. Love that artwork. Is a 5-drop, but it's a little bit of a ramp. So legendary artifact, you can only have one out. 5-drop tap, add mountain. Whenever this mana is cast for a red instant or sorcery spell, copy that spell. So it's ramp and helps you just copy and burn out things. So solid card, S tier for sure. But you gotta know how to use it. Now it's copy instant or sorcery, so that could be used in a lot of different decks, however you want to use that. But it's got to be a red. So Gruul, probably mostly used in burn, I'll say. Now that I think about it, has to be a red instant or sorcery. I'll go A tier. And then we've got one more. I think is Primeval Bounty. Yeah, that's Primeval Bounty. So I think I moved past that one too quickly. It should be in the green column all the way up. Did I? I did. Okay. So there was a rare here, but it goes into this mythic. All right. So Primeval Bounty. Zoom in a little bit more for you. This is a fun one. A lot of people like this card. It's a 6-drop. Whenever you cast a creature spell, make a 3/3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put 3+1/+1 counters on target creature you control. And it's got landfall. Love that mechanic. Whenever a land you control enters, gain 3 life. So it gives back mountains more than that 6 CMC cost if you can keep it alive. So that's a great card. I'll say S tier, just because I like the artwork. No, because it's got a lot of functionality. And that's going to do it for the tier list. I do appreciate you joining me as always. Until next time, deckheads, keep it easy.